people who live in a rural area out in the country. What will city folk never understand? Our police department has such an uneventful life. One New Year's Eve when I was little, the police on the job had nothing to do, so they stopped at our New Year's party. The officers were showing us kids the inside of a police car and were just casually talking to the adults. After about 10 minutes, they finally got a call to catch a runaway cow. Apparently some farmer's cow got out and didn't know where it went. The police searched for about an hour and never found it. That was the only situation of the entire night. The excitement as a child of visiting an actual town. Lose power in a storm? Better not flush the toilet. Your well pump is out too. Corollary. Filling the bathtub with water before a storm so that you'll have water if the power doesn't come back for a few days. Two fingers lift off the steering wheel every time another car goes by. It stormed 2 days ago, so I have to use mobile data for this, because the Wi-Fi is still out. Edit. Row. A lot of people like this comment. So anyway. Right. The internet is out. Not the Wi-Fi. Got it. The major problem is that my Xbox is useless without internet though. Second edit. And Trump is the best US president ever. Traffic is almost never a thing. Waiting behind a tractor that's going 20 miles per hour. If he's a real leadfoot, totally is. Gunshots. Men, it's a nice day out. Of course they are out shooting. It's nothing for me to drive 4 hours one way to get to see a specialist if I am having a health issue. I usually make the trip in one day. 8 hours of driving to see the DR for one 15-minute appointment. There is literally nothing between the small place where we live and the next largest city, 4 hours away. We always tell people that are passing through to be sure to make sure your car is full of gas. Use the bathroom. And get anything you might want to eat or drink now. Because there is nowhere along the way to really stop and do that. That not having a vehicle can literally not be an option sometimes. For any real groceries I have to drive over a hill at least 10 miles. There is no public transportation or ride sharing. Edit. Due to some comments, I'd like to make it clear that I am aware that some city folk also face stuff like this. I am just posting this due to dealing with a number of people at college from cities who have no license. And consider it odd that we focus on having a running car. If someone needs help, you help them. It doesn't matter if it's inconvenient or even if you like the person. You just help them because sure as shit you're going to need their help sometime. Edit. And it's just the right thing to do. I think city people would freak out to find out how few people actually lock the doors when they live out in the country. Growing up, we had 6 people living in the house and none of us even had a key to the house. We never locked the house. Edit. This is my first post to have more than 4 people look at it. Row. Silence is not the distant buzz of cars or airplanes overhead. Silence is when even the frogs or crickets aren't chirping. When all you can hear is the rustling of leaves as the midnight wind blows. No random conversations as a couple walk by your window. No bells or horns. My country living is in the middle of the forest on a lake. The only time you hear your neighbor is when they mow their lawn or it's the weekend and everyone is at the lake partying. Other than that, it's Mother Nature's finest choir. Aside from everything mentioned, making good with your neighbor. I don't mean drinks every Saturday night. But everyone helps everyone because you will need it. Everything is 45 minutes 5 hours away. Whether you need some starting fluid for an engine, or he needs some eggs to finish up that pea crust before guests come over, or just help with a little physical labor. Hell, without me asking, my neighbor drove his tractor down the road to clear my snowy driveway. I'm not some old lady. I'm a 30-year-old dude with the machinery to do it myself. I've lived in the city. And not only do people not know their neighbors, but when they do it's usually over passive-aggressive behavior and not letting little things go. Oh. Jesus FCK, they planted begonias within 3 feet of the property line, which is against city ordinance. WHO cares. What's better? Having those begonias 6 inches further back? Or neighbors who don't hate you? Had a GF that was upset that I regularly let my neighbors use my hose to fill their drinking water before they got a well set up at their camp. They're my neighbors. I'm not going to make them continue to drink river water. I grew up in a tiny town in the south. One weekend, I was visiting from college and pulled up behind a guy on a horse waiting at the stoplight. I was like, wow. When did we get a stoplight? Double quote. Wanna go to Walmart? Organ stop? Okay, 40-minute drive, here we come. We moved up into the mountains a couple years ago and life up here is different. Everything is far away unless you want to go to the local market that has prices marked up high as a skyscraper. Barely any sidewalks or street lights. And internet is slower. Everybody knows each other. So gossip is an ongoing high thing to talk about. But the lack of traffic and the beautiful view is hard to beat. Peace and quiet. Able to see the stars at night. I'm not terribly far from a city, but rural enough to be away from light pollution. Most of the people around me leave lights off at night outside, so nothing really affects sky viewing at night. I have a grocery store, pizza places, bakery, gas station, and liquor store all close enough to be convenient, yet not too close for comfort. Having said that, I grew up in a major city metro area, and I don't miss it at all. If there is a full moon, you can go outside and you can read a book because it's so bright. I really feel sorry for people in big cities who've never really seen a night sky. Everyone owns a gun and there's nothing weird or crazy about it. Cow tipping. I'd love to meet the idiot that came up with that brilliant idea. I'd love to see someone try and push over a 1,200 pound animal that is resting solidly on 4 legs. It's going to notice you trying to push it, get annoyed, and kick you. It's not fun. You're supposed to sneak up on them while they're sleeping. You say? Good luck. Because they lay down when they sleep. I had to explain this to my city folk friends in college, and they still didn't believe me. If you decide to send out a last-minute invitation, I require more than 10 measly minutes notice before the event of said invitation. The things I miss out on because I live 45 minutes away from anything. That mostly everyone is actually really friendly. At least where I live. As soon as you get off the paved roads and hit the dirt roads, almost every car passing will wave to you. This is kinda funny when I have a friend who lives in the city in the car with me. I'll wave to someone as they go by and they'll ask who that was and I'll say I don't know. They get really confused why I would wave to someone I don't know, but that's just how it is here. The feeling of sitting down to a meal, and everything you eat is something you grew or an animal you harvested. I grew up very rural, and every single meal we ever had there was food that came from our garden or an animal we shot or had slaughtered. I live in an urban environment now, and I'm entirely dependent on grocery stores for food. It's normal to most. But I'm still getting used to the fact that I just can't walk out to the garden to grab vegetables for that night. I also put on weight because everything is more about convenience. Chores are in-house only, and delivery pizza is a click away. I have to go to a gym now to get the exercise I would have normally gotten from just my daily routine back home. A person in the city will take their kid to the local park to play. A person in the country will have to build by their kid a playground area. That's a reason why many people from the country are more anti-tax than city people. They don't notice the benefits as much. I've only lived in a rural setting for about 6 years. Back in the big city now, I'd say the amount of unwanted pets that get dumped off. Edit to make clear the meaning that the pets were unwanted by their previous owners. The terror of driving in the city for the first time. Losing feeling in your hands from holding the steering wheel too tight. Cars everywhere. People everywhere. Suicidal pigeons and so much happening in my periphery all the time. And traffic lights. Duck that. They were intimidating. The closest traffic light to us was about 400 kilometers away, and I remember when that was put in, the controversy was amazing. I live in an old farmhouse. Old. like 100 plus years, in the middle of a field. I don't have cats because they're cute. I have cats because field mice are tricky little bastards that slip in when you open the door. So if you see a cat, don't touch it. It'll probably bite. And if you see a mouse, just give it an hour. The cat will bring it to me in a bit. Lived in a small town. 2,000 people for the first 23 years of my life. When I finally moved into the big town a whole 25 miles away, I was shocked that I could order pizza online and get it delivered to my house. Also, I haven't seen the stars since I moved out of my small town. But every time I'm back there visiting my mom, they're so loud because it's so dark. Unless you've experienced it for yourself, I can't really explain the night sounds you hear out in the sticks. On a cool spring night there's crickets, tree frogs and even whippoorwills that combine to create a symphony. It's beautiful really, and the one thing I miss most about living in the country. Backroading. I think this means something different depending on where you're from. But I grew up in a small town on a lake in Oklahoma. The closest movie theater or bowling alley was 45 minutes away. We had no entertainment. And everyone starts driving and drinking young. For us that meant grabbing a few of your friends, having someone older buy us a 30-pack of cheap beer, and then just driving around back roads by the lake. I never drink and drive now. But back then it was extremely common thing for us to do. And since we were on sparsely populated roads, where you hardly ever saw a car and weren't driving at excessive speeds, we were never much of a danger to ourselves or anyone else. We would just drive around, drink, listen to music, make jokes and bullshit, and stop at random places we knew. It doesn't sound like much when I type it out, but we had a lot of really good times doing basically nothing. Now that I'm older and live in a fairly large city, I miss those times where we had nothing to do and absolutely no worries. It's time for bed. But it's only 10 PM. Double quote. I've lived for 16 years in a rural area and almost 7 now in a city. It's just so different. Whenever I tell my friends that lights are off at around that time, they freak out and ask where I get drinks. I drink a lot in the city. I told them we usually just have beers stashed in a huge ice bucket or an opened bottle of hard liquor somewhere because people are going to think that you are some criminal if they see you walking on the streets at like, let's say, past midnight. And you don't even have to be drunk to fetch you the local police, not really cops. But they go around the area to check past midnight for some weird stuff. You just need to innocently have a stroll past midnight. I grew up in rural Illinois and now live in Chicago. And there are things that I love about both places. I love all of the things available to me here in the city. But I love going back home and being in the open country and able to relax easier. Plus it's a FCK ton cheaper out there. I'm finally getting internet access, and thus phone service, hopefully. 1. Cellular Wi-Fi hotspot, deep cycle battery, charge controller, and modified car charger for the hotspot, all in a wood frame, all in a Rubbermaid bin, on the ridge. Bolted 20 feet up a tree so no one fucks with it. Solar panel on top. 2. 700 feet away. Through trees. Down in the holler. Wi-Fi router with 30 dB parabolic antenna. Dot. Fingers crossed. If you're interested in a certain person, you probably know at least 2 other people who slept or dated that person. I moved to a farm when I was 10 and I adored it. Even young there was a ton of work for me to do, plus I worked on neighboring horse farms, but in the end I have a strong work ethic and know nothing comes for free. Also encouraged me to love my own space since there aren't many friends in the country and when parents are busy with chores, they can't drive you around. My spare time I explored the woods, fished in our river, had wicked forts and raced around on dirt bikes, 4-wheelers and whatever we could get our hands on. For a girl, these were valuable times for me. Being friendly with your neighbors is a matter of having people to help you in a time of need, not just niceness. Growing up in a small town, your neighbors are the only people who can help you in case of something hitting the fan before the authorities can arrive. For example, in my neighborhood I have been present for 2 deaths, 2 births, 3 tree fall removals, 3 possible burglaries, 1 real burglaries, 1 homeless person sleeping in a barn, 2 neighbors too drunk to make it to bed, 1 collapsed roof from snowfall. For most of those the police, firemen, ambulance did come. But it was the people in the house next to you that arrive first and know you best that help you through the tough times. I don't know how it is in big cities. Maybe you guys have that. Maybe you don't. What it's like to live without food delivery. Some days you're too tired to cook. Or realize you forgot to get something crucial to dinner on the way home and shopping day for the month isn't until tomorrow. So you just want to order a pizza or some Chinese. Nope. You're either making do with what you have, or you're driving the hour back into town to pick something up.